Okay, so this is actually my second take, and my first take was absolutely beyond perfect, except for a technical problem, which for some reason did not capture my audio. So I wasted an entire 15 minutes of a beautiful, spontaneous, wonderful video for no good reason. Got to do it all over again. And it'll never come out as beautifully as the first one. That's my opinion. Jan, what are you whining about? I had to vent that one out. Thank you so much. All right, today we're going to talk again about scrimping and saving for the things that we want. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jan. Welcome to another episode on this channel, the Save Money More Jan channel. How you doing today? If you're brand new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've been here a while, thank you, thank you, thank you. Love all of you. Thank you for being here. Even if you stop by just one time, I thank you so much for that. Thanks. All right, let's jump right into it. Scrimping and saving for the things that we want. Well, when you hear the two words, or three, scrimping and saving, what comes to your mind? Does it sound like a drudgery? Does it sound like, oh, another task, more homework, extra drudge? It could. It could sound like that. And I get that. But I can tell you this much. Our grandparents and great grandparents definitely scrimped and saved for the things that they wanted. Listen, I believe in my heart of hearts that scrimping and saving for the things we want sure beats scrimping and saving for the things that we need. Uh, 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 uh. I like knowing that I could always pay my bills because I could, but I may not always be able to get the things that I want. I have wants just like you do. And I'll always make a reference to one of my beautiful wants back in the day. I wanted a carousel. I think carousels are beautiful. I believe they are a piece of art. I think they're gorgeous. But the reality is, even though I wanted a carousel in my life, that's a big difference from needing. I need to pay bills. I need to have electricity. I need to keep a roof. I like to buy food. You get hungry every once in a while. All the things that one needs. Don't need a carousel. In fact, if I actually did purchase a carousel, what would I do with it? Am I going to put a carousel in the middle of a living room in the middle of the city? I don't think so. Can't put a carousel in the backyard if I wanted to put a carousel in a backyard in other places. Can't do that. Not allowed. And what would I do with it? And if I did, I would have to rent a space somewhere officially to have a carousel ride business and sell tickets. And I would love to one day watch people have fun and joy and laughter on a carousel, just like I always used to do growing up. But there's a big difference between riding a carousel for fun, okay, as opposed to taking care of a carousel in a business, selling the tickets, keeping up with the maintenance, exploring avenues I never heard of. I don't know about maintenance of a carousel. Then that beautiful want, supposedly, or need, supposedly, turns into a big old drudge. Now, talk about a drudge. That could turn into a drudge. It could be the worst elephant in the room, the thing that I thought I really needed. Let's talk about scrimping and saving for the things that we want. Let's use the example of our grandparents and great grandparents. Okay. Let me tell you something. I had a grandmother. My other grandmother was probably deceased at that point. I had my other grandma on daddy's side. Okay. And she was amazing with food. She did about 6,000 things with one item. She did. That was part of her scrimping and saving. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. For example, let's say that the family was over her house for roast chicken dinner on a Sunday. Okay. Let me tell you something. Do you think that right off the bat, after everybody went home, she cleaned off that thing and tossed it in the trash? Oh, no. Not my grandmother. No way. No way. I could tell you for a fact she turned that into about another 10 future meals. All this came with practice from the Great Depression. So when she was doing those things in the 1960s, it was from all the practice from the Great Depression. And mind you, my grandmother and grandfather actually had a grocery store back during the Great Depression. So it's not like they didn't have access to things, but everything they did They handle like good stewards and they handle things wisely. Okay. So they never had to worry about taking care of the things that they needed to. That was a given because they put their needs, prioritizing needs before wants. I much rather spend my money on the things that I need. I much rather know that I can pay my bills without blinking. You know, I came to a sad conclusion, and I mentioned this on my original cut of this audio, which I could just scream about that technical problem beyond my control. Oh, I'm just saying. Okay, I came to the sad conclusion that a lot of people, this sounds crazy, I know it, are addicted. They're literally addicted to struggling, huh? Jan, why would anybody want to struggle? I know. I'm telling you, I don't get it. I think it's crazy. And I'll get right back to that in a minute. I want to mention a true event. I went to someone's house on Thanksgiving. I mentioned in prior videos like at least once a year as a good example. And turkey was beautiful. And the people there, very sweet people, they were ready to literally toss that bird out. And I'm looking at it like, wait a minute. I guess the grandma instinct kicked in. I said, "You're about to throw this out?" They're like, "Yeah, we're finished." Yeah, we're finished. I don't think so. I said, "Are you sure?" Yeah. So I said, "Well, I have a question for you. Would you like me to take it off your hands?" They're like, "Sure. All we have to do is just throw it in a bag and give it to you." I said, "That's it. It's a win-win. You don't want to deal with it, and I am more than happy to deal with it." Can I tell you something? I don't know. I guess the grandma thing kicked in on me. I got at least 8 to 10 meals out of that. An additional 8 to 10 meals from that so-called finished with turkey. It was far from finished with. That's why I asked those folks. I said, "Are you sure?" I even pointed out, I said, "You could do this with it, you could do that." They were like, "No, no, 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 no. No, well, more than they just didn't want it taking up space in the refrigerator." And there are some people who are in that position, and they're like, "Okay." So I was like, "Okay." So I was okay back. And I was like, "Thank you very much." And I promptly went home. And the next day, I had a ball configuring out that turkey. OMG. Like I said, I think the grandma from yesteryear, my grandmother, came out in me. Let me talk to you today about a very humbling experience from a woman on another platform, on another video, and she was sitting in her car. All right. Now, she wasn't just driving to, do an errand or work for one of those dashing type companies. No, 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 no. She was living in her car, and not just for a couple of days for the fun of it. Don't ask me why some people consider it a fun adventure, but hey, to each his own. All right. It's not like when you're living in a purposeful, RV type thing, just a regular car. She looked far from comfortable and she looked far from happy. And she had a huge story to tell. Okay. She was admitting she was living in one of those subsidized housing situations. Let me ask you a question. Would your landlord like it if you just continuously not paid your rent? What do you think? Would the mortgage lender not would they love it if you skipped on paying your mortgage for your house? What do you think? Come on, we all know the answer. Of course not. They're not going to like it. They're going to take action. They're going to take action, legal action, and do what they can to evict the person. So this lady, and I have to give her kudos, a lot of kudos, for humiliating herself publicly on a video online to say that, well, I know something. She's trying to help people avoid doing this, openly admitting the following. She did not feel like paying her rent. She said, "I had the money. I wanted to procrastinate. I wanted to do other things with it." She didn't care about that she needed to pay the rent, but she didn't feel like it because she wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Do you think that her landlord over there, management, liked it? No, this is what promptly landed her in a car. And she was not a woman of means. And she couldn't just go to the bank, take more money out, and when she felt like it, hurry up and pay the rent and the late fees. Couldn't do that. She put herself, because of procrastination and whatever other reason I couldn't tell you, I'm not the person. She didn't feel like paying her rent. There are a lot of things I don't feel like doing. I'm not kidding. There are days I might wake up saying, "Oh, I have to figure out a show. I want to give the show relevance." You think these ideas pop in my head just like that? There's a little research involved in the stuff that I talk about. Okay? Sometimes it just pops in my head and I'm just quite spontaneous, but a lot of things I have to look up. I don't feel like looking it up right now. That's why I give myself a whole week in advance to get a show together. I do that on purpose so that you get a show every time. We all don't feel like doing things sometimes, but not feeling like paying your rent? Come on now. So, scrimping and saving for the things that we want is a lower priority, okay? I rather scrimp and save for the things that I want as opposed to struggling all the time to scrimp and save for the things that I need. There is a huge difference. That's why we always have to distinguish wants from needs. Isn't it better to know that you always and forever have the funding for the things you need? This is why it breaks my heart when I see so much confusion when people are struggling in their finances. And sometimes people could do a lot better, but at that moment, they want instant gratification. And I don't feel like it. I want that bright, shiny new penny. Now, if I caved into my whimsies when I was younger and purchased a large carousel, where am I going to put it? In the middle of a living room in New York City? What on planet Earth would I be doing with a carousel in the middle of my living room in New York City? No. But I could always buy a beautiful poster picture of a beautiful carousel and put it up on a wall. That I could do. So I still get my joy of staring at a beautiful piece of art known as a carousel. That's a want, okay? To me, that's a pure want. That is not a need. But do I need to make sure I pay my rent? Yes. Do I need to make sure I put food on my table? Yes. And I don't know about you, but I like to keep the lights on. I don't take it very lightly to not have lights, not have heat. You see where I'm going with this. So, scrimping and saving for the things that we want is totally okay. In fact, I encourage it. That way, when you finally do get the things that you want as a direct result of your efforts, of the scrimping and saving, it'll really have even that much more meaning. Sometimes we really need to take lessons from our grandparents. And we also need to be an example to our grandchildren. Well, our grandparents are in all probability long gone, especially if you're in my age bracket. If you're in my age bracket and still have a grandmother, let me know in the comments section below. I would consider you very, very lucky. If you're 66 years old and still have your grandmother, please let me know. Most of us don't, but we have the lasting lessons and the wonderful memories of their presence in our lives. Or at least we heard stories about them, even if we didn't get to meet them because maybe they went home already. And our parents shared the information about how great their parents were. Keep those memories alive, but let's also be a good example to our grandchildren. That's one of the problems of the world today. We don't have enough lessons by examples. A lot of the examples that are currently out there right now, from the top down with money management, are not very good lessons. You know it, and I know it. In fact, it's very frustrating. But anyway, hopefully this video will have helped at least one person. So go ahead, script and save for the things that you want. Do that all you want and get those things that you want eventually. But make sure you're in a position that you don't have to scrimp and save all the time for the things that you need. Get off the struggle addiction. Some people are addicted to struggling. Not me. I don't like it one bit. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and I truly appreciate what everybody's time. Don't forget to come back every single day at 5 a.m. I'm like a spinning top, and I cannot be stopped. Every single day, which includes Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on and so forth. Super thanks. I'll forever appreciate it. Take good care of yourself and your amazing family. Thank you.